Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. Bringing you guys a game between Fnatic and Team Liquid. Great start, game one, going in the way of Team Liquid. They take it down very, very convincingly. They honestly just put out the pressure at the right times, found their timing windows, pushed it out, and I had a really, really good farm advantage to start and some good movement across the board. I think that there were some mistakes as far as initiation and decision-making with cooldowns from Fnatic, but obviously they're currently contemplating how they're going to proceed with the next match differently and hopefully give us a show. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. Still waiting on one thing to load on in, and then we'll be going on into this next match here. But yeah, it was a really, really interesting game one. Honestly, coming on through, we don't see Luna being as aggressive as that early on. Generally speaking, she loves to like kind of sit back and farm a little bit, but as soon as we saw good levels on Lucent Beam, we saw TC going out and finding kills and just getting really, really good attacks and maneuvers all around the entire map. So that was really, really cool to see, and it just really fits on into Liquid's aggressive style. They love to play actively, and it looks like Versuta is on in. So now we are finally on into the draft. Welcoming warmly my co-caster Vykromond. How's it going, man?
It's going well, Blaze. Hoping to see Fnatic bounce back, take this game 2, move us to a game 3. It's going to be an uphill battle. The draft is a little weirder than it would have been if I think Hani was here, just because it would be a little more predictable. Both teams would have a better understanding of each other's approach. So they'll have to sort of work around that. We do see Io getting banned out again. Nyx actually taken out by TL, which is interesting because I believe TL have the first pick, right?
Yeah, so I believe they don't really want to pick it up for their first pick here. They have something else in mind. They figured that the Bat and the Io would be taken out, so they jump on TC's Nyx.
That's what that is. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Lifestealer, one of the heroes that still is shared by the two teams, even with this alternate arrangement of players on roles. Era and TC both play this hero extremely well. It's one of their feature heroes, I think, in terms of performance. And this will give Liquid an early, a bit of a leg up. Fnatic will have to respond to this. Most likely, this is going to be Lone Druid and X. You don't want Lone Druid and Lifestealer on the same team, A, although TC is Liquid's primary player of both. B, Lone Druid actually pretty decent against Lifestealer, and it is an option for Trixie to go up on. So I would most likely see that and one other hero going up for Fnatic here. Maybe even the Chen start signaling a little bit of a push.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, a lot of different options how they want to make it work. It would be a switch up of roles if Fnatic went for the Chen, because of course Nortail would then be opting for the supportive mindset unless the stand-in has some skills there. But once again, they pick up the Magnus, and along with that, the Bane.
I was totally wrong.
Yeah, this is interesting. I honestly
I was completely wrong.
I honestly like the pickup of the Bane up against the Lifestealer, but with the pickup of the Clockwork, the hook shot, as well as that battery assault, it's hard to get a good Fiend's grip off. And along with that, we saw how well the Magnus worked last time, and it's something that they still have to make sure they're talking about more actively. They're communicating and coordinating with, because I'm not going to flame Nortail, but it's not an S4 Magnus. It's something that still is a work in progress, and as such, they have to make sure that it's going to be very, very relevant here in this situation. Meanwhile, Team Liquid picking up their core heroes, the ones that fit so well with their players. They have TC on his Lifestealer, they have Bulba running the Clockwork, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Shadow Demon picked up for IX Mike. That's what they were running in the Navi's games a couple times over.
Shadow Demon would be an incredible pick here. The only question for them is do they take... Okay, so they take Rubik. I was going to say Shadow Demon, Rubik, and something like Puck or Storm Spirit were all really high priority picks for them there.
Yeah.
The Rubik is amazing against Magnus. The Shadow Demon is amazing against Bane, because there's nothing Bane can do to prevent you from ruining his Fiend's grips. You can disrupt the target. You can disrupt the Bane, and then if Bane gets BKB, you can still disrupt the target. Shadow Demon would be a great pickup. Rubik, also a great pickup. This does mean that Fnatic can sort of opt to ban out some Korok heroes. But I don't know, Blaze. I have to say, so far in this draft, I really like Liquid's lineup. That Bulba Clockwork, potentially very, very explosive. I would say that it's probably his... it's my favorite hero of his to play, actually. I think the Clockwork is just really, really excellent. He has that sort of ganking mindset that it fits very well with, as long as he's able to do well in lane. So yesterday he struggled a little bit with the lane, but if he does well there, it's going to be huge.
Definitely. Yeah, the Rubik or the Shadow Demon pick definitely came down to whether or not they were more concerned about the Magnus or the Bane or wanted to be more prepared to deal with it. Right. And I think, again, it just adds more pressure on the Magnus player that when you come on with the Rubik, if he's in a good position, you always have to be worried about that potential for reverse polarity stolen because, honestly, there's situations where RP getting stolen is worse for you than have it being put down in the first place. Like, you could just hold on to it. It might be a better situation for you. But
if you RP on 1, you can't do any RPs on 1 in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it just can't happen. By the way, Chen banned, probably going to see the Lone Druid ban if I had to guess. Although, this TA, this is interesting. Probably Magnus mid TA solo and then an aggressive try, but they have to put together the remaining elements of the aggressive try in the second phase, right? Or am I completely wrong? Is it going to be something different?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that they are finishing. They just have to go for their number 1 and their number 4 or 5. I guess 4 in this case. But 4. One thing that I really like about the CA pick, along with having the Magnus, is you're shutting down Korok pretty hard. You ban out the Queen of Pain, the Puck, and the Storm, and where does Korok go? Like, he picked up the Brew and played that really nicely. So, oh gosh. But yeah, you pick up the Brew, and that could be something that is also on this banning plate rather than the Puck or the Storm.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I don't know, it's just like, if you already picked 2 of Korok's heroes, you're in a better position, or one that TC would play mid, whatever. It's just, in this position, shutting down the mid options makes them a lot less flexible of a team, and as such, you're going to be able to do more against it. Templar Assassin is still going to be a great hero, but who do you think is going to pick it up in this situation for Fnatic?
Sorry, who's going to pick up the TA?
Yeah.
Era, probably.
You think so?
Yeah, it actually depends on who they draft 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
I don't think they're 100% set on Era playing this TA right now, but that could be what happens if, depending on what Liquid ban and what they actually pick. This is still really open from Fnatic, actually. I'm not 100% sold, but I'm willing to be sold on it. Like, I'm willing to see this. And you can see Liquid's just like this anti-mage ban. Era plays the AM quite a bit, but it's more like a, what are they doing? Like, let's try to ban out the best, sort of safest hero options for them. But I don't know. I still feel I'm just not sure what's going to happen in the next second phase. They could blow this wide open. I think your insight about taking out Korok's heroes is actually completely correct. You're probably right that they're going to ban Puck with their 5th ban to try to choke out all the options for Korok. But that does leave Brew. I still think Brew is a very good combo for the rest of this lineup.
But Lifestealer isn't really too afraid of him, in my opinion. Like, you can Rage out of the Haze, you can avoid...
No, I mean Brew on Liquid.
Oh. Okay. Yeah,
He's great against TA. Yeah. I mean...
yeah. I don't know why I brain farted there. But yeah, I definitely see what you're talking about. In that sense, they ban out the Puck, Brewmaster is still on the table, and Fnatic's definitely not going to pick it up, so it's something they can leave for 4th or 5th. Either way, in this position here, yeah, I honestly think it has a lot of potential, because you can screw over that Templar Assassin hardcore, and from there, you pretty much just have to make sure the Lifestealer is in position to right-click away. So, yeah, I really feel the Brewmaster pick would be just as strong this time around as it was last time, and it's something they're considering here. But they also have to be looking towards that alternate support. I mean, of course, first phase, they did lose the Keeper Light and the Nyx by themselves, the IO as well, and then now they've taken out the Chen, so they have to figure out...
They know what they want. They wouldn't have banned the Shadow Demon if they weren't 100% clear, because they have the first pick, Blaze. They could easily have secured it 4th, and Fnatic can't really take Brew, so they know. It's probably Lina or Leshrac, honestly, both of whom would work extremely well. Put Fluff on Lina again.
Yeah.
Put IX Mike on Rubik, and if I'm Fnatic, I start panicking. Gyro, huh? Okay.
I think Korok Gyro is what we're going to be looking at there.
Yeah.
It's great against TA 1v1 mid. The barrage burns it down quickly. And Gyrocopter, he hasn't played it as much recently, but he used to be like the most aggressive Gyrocopter. Like Shadow Blade out in 8 minutes or something and just go to town. Like, he really, really loves that aggressive style. And because the Clockwork can always jump in and back him up, I think they're going to feel pretty confident about running dual core Gyrocopter Korok mid.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And this is an interesting pick from Liquid. Again, Fnatic, I don't think we're quite expecting this. This is the trouble, in my opinion, with concentrating your ban phase on one player, or like structuring your entire draft around shutting one person down. Is like they can almost always, they can still find an escape hatch. I still feel like Liquid's draft doesn't look that bad. Like even though Fnatic spent so much effort on the I'm having a brain destruction on Korok.
Yeah.
And this happened yesterday too. I think with Fnatic again, they expended 4 bans on S4 and he like still did fine. I don't know. This time they expended even a pick because part of this TA was making sure they boxed Korok in. Now maybe they can make it happen. If Gyro is in mid, Gyro is an eminently gank. You had an interview, I think, or somebody had an interview with Mouse's Fata in which he was like, I love playing Gyrocopter mid, but I just can't justify it because it just gets ganked all the time. So Bane Jakiro, if they're able to pincer that Gyro and get a lot of kills on Korok early, is going to be pretty effective.
Yeah.
The question is, actually, the Jakiro, I want to talk about the Jakiro pick super quick.
Sure.
Great pick against Clockwork, right? Because Clockwork sort of creates his own trap, his beautiful little trap, so to speak, for your Jakiro spells to be effective.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, just boxing them in, you box yourself in just as much, and you can have a lot of problems, and also they have the Magnus on board with that, so they can skewer them into Macropyres, they can put the RP in, and that'll work out really nicely. But with the Darkseer pickup, I could easily see a Clockwork being supportive, or we could see a Jungle Darkseer and just go for, like, 2.510 or 411, 2.511 with, like, I don't know, fluff and stuff Darkseer. I've never seen that, but... Why
not Clock mid, Gyro as a support, and Darkseer solo or jungle as needed?
10 seconds remaining.
Definitely possible as well. I love that Gyrocopter versus Templar Assassin a little bit more than I like the Clockwork.
Mid is the thing. You can try to make that happen, but I think it's going to be Magnus mid, so we're going to see in a second, most likely. I doubt No-Tail's going to be. We'll see what No-Tail goes on, and that'll be interesting. Alk, by the way, again, this time this has got to be Era's Alk, right? I can't imagine.
Yeah, I would say so. It would be Era's Alchemist, and then they have the mid for the TA, and then either jungle or offlane for the Magnus is what I would be looking at there.
Interesting drafts this time. We sort of, ever since the VP series yesterday, we've just seen all these heroes just bouncing around in terms of what roles they play. It's the same heroes, but it's like a different role for them each time. So Korok on the Gyro, not going to be a support
Fluff and stuff Clockwork. That's what we're looking at, and that's going to be pretty awesome in my opinion. Yeah,
I like the Fluff Clock. I think it's... definitely gives them a lot of roaming potential if the Clock can get the jump on people. The only thing with the support Clockwork is Clockwork wants level 6 so badly for the hook initiation, and in the support role, it's difficult to hit level 6 in a timely fashion. If you do, and if Liquid do, they're going to be in good shape, but they still have to find those levels. Meanwhile, for Fnatic, I mean, this is a pretty greedy lineup. You've got the Alchemist for Era. He's going to want to get big. He does have that early stun, so that's good. It is No-Tail on the Templar Assassin, so we're going to be seeing that in the middle. Trixie on the Magnus, and then the Fly and Jocko support pair. I don't know who I favor in this draft anymore. I feel like it's really gotten a little more open and woolly in that second pick phase.
It depends on how Trixie plays his lanes out, essentially. If he goes in offlane and can survive against a Rubik, great, but more likely he's just going to be sitting in the jungle. And then from there, if he stacks it up perfectly, he'll be okay. But the Blink Dagger timing will still be later than he'd prefer. So that really comes down to Trixie and how he finds farm, and how well this Clockwork support works out. Because in a tri-lane situation, you can just telekinesis them either inside cogs or bumping up next to it intentionally. So that's going to be a cool way that they can make the tri-lane work. But when it comes down to it, we haven't seen Fluff practice on that clock for his long-range initiation nearly as much as we've seen Bulba just completely dominating with it. So at that stage, obviously they can't just like trade keyboards halfway through the game. The Fluff and stuff is not only going to be laning with it, but we're going to have to see how effective he is going to be at the predictive movement prediction, as well as, of course, just knowing when to jump on into the fray.
I mean, he's been very good, and the thing about Clockwork, this Clockwork Rubik pair, is that telekinesis is a pretty long-range initiation tool. If IX Mike leads the way, picks somebody up and moves them towards Fluff, that's cogs that lands even before what is wrong with me? Even before he gets hookshot.
Sure.
And then Bulba offers a great combination with Fluff and stuff as well. This lineup is greedy, especially for levels. Like, they really need levels. But Vac into cogs is pretty good. Cogs combines great with Gyrocopter. Just about everything Gyrocopter does becomes better with Cogs to sort of keep people in place. And overall, it's a lineup that offers a ton of potential just upsides. I honestly feel like almost TC is the odd man out here. He's just the additional threat. Like, he is just there to deal damage and to threaten Fnatic with the sort of, you have to use these ultimates on me. Like, you have to make sure I'm RP'd. You have to make sure I'm Fiend's Grip. But that's kind of, like, he's just bait for those things. He's going to be a damage source in that, but the rest of the team is almost a separate team-fighting unit. And TC is just the ticking time bomb.
So do you think we're going to find him just solo farming a lane often where the others are going to be 4v5ing more commonly?
Yes. Yes, I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to be far. They're going to see a lot of people rotating around, especially helping Korok win mid, and TC just farming.
Sure.
Maybe early Midas. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's a possibility against the Alchemist, because otherwise you could get overwhelmed as far as gold goes.
I think he's looking for 1v1. Currently, his item build, he's gotten 3 sources of reach, and he has the Stout Shield. It looks like he expects to be contested rather directly.
Checking Roche, interesting. They thought... I don't think Fnatic have the composition.
Yeah, I mean, Templar Assassin is the biggest thing there, and I guess Acid Spray also negates a little bit of armor.
That's true.
So.
No, that's the Acid Spray plus meld can actually do work. They'd have to have bought a crap ton of healing cells.
Exactly. They don't have any survivability.
Yeah, the problem with that is if you get caught out and TL were like, hey, we should just check. If TL decides, hey, we should just check, you lose. Like, you instantly lose the entire game. So that would have been a very, very risky play for Fnatic. They don't go for it, so...
So anyways, we are going to see shaping up. Ix Mike is right now towards the top lane getting some wards up, whereas Fluff is going to be up there with the Clockwork. We are seeing this going to turn into an aggressive tri-lane. TC, Mike, and Fluff all making the way up top to directly contest. That's why they thought that TC would need some 1v1 time, and why he needs those items to make that work, is because of the fact that he is actually going to be solo bottom, and that's probably going to be versus Magnus here. So Trixie will go for Empower early, and we're probably going to see some more active points. Nope, switching it up once more.
It's Korok, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, we see Korok down on the bottom lane, and he's going to have the Wraith Band and the Regeneration versus Trixie, and meanwhile we do see actually Bulba going against No Tail. This matchup here, Darkseer versus Templar Assassin, No Tail is going to have a huge advantage until Darkseer hits level 5. As soon as the Iron Shell gets rank 3, it can pierce through Refraction, and it's going to be devastating in how much damage it can put on out.
Right, so that's a good point. The first, is it level 3, not level 2?
It has to be rank 3.
Okay, I thought it had to be rank 2, but you're right, it's rank 3. So, once Darkseer, you're right, once he's able to pierce through the refraction, Darkseer starts to get an incredible advantage in this lane. I don't actually think TA's advantage is that great even before that, just because it becomes more difficult to time the last hits. Darkseer is so incredibly annoying in this lane. And, meanwhile on the top, I want to say, this Enfeeble first, so we didn't see this work for Axe Mike yesterday, but Jocko is going for it, just to reduce TC's damage, so 33
right now,
damage.
Openwood's coming out, we'll see how effective it is with the cogs already available. There is going to be a big stun coming on out. Will the damage be there in time? There's Concoction only on TC, Ice Path coming out, the cogs do strike, and the Tug needs to pull them back. This is going to be first blood for Clockwork, so it did work out for Liquid in the end, and yeah, if you can't get that Nightmare off on somebody, then you're going to only be alleviating some of the damage presence rather than all of it. So
yeah, I'm glad I got that in. I pointed it out just before it became super duper relevant, because yeah, Enfeeble first means you don't have that CC, and that's if he had been able to Nightmare Bulba, sorry, goodness gracious, I just assume it's Bulba because it's Clockwork. If he had been able to Nightmare Fluff and stuff as he approached him, that fight goes differently. I mean, he doesn't die, and instead you sort of traded, okay, we denied a couple last hits maybe for TC. I don't know, it's tough, and so far you do see Bulba holding his own completely in this middle lane.
So yeah, that's working out perfectly fine for him. 9 CS compared to the 8, it's actually now 10, up against the 8 of the Templar Assassin. That's because she's forced on her tower multiple times over. She only has so much to work with here. And going for a Refraction Sideblades setup, it's great versus a melee hero, but it's still limiting in the sense that Darkseer doesn't have to stay on the lane to do the damage. The Iron Shell does it for him, and so it kind of changes how it works out. Back and forth here, honestly, look at the aggressive position from this tri-lane. Like, they are willing to directly contest every single pull and pretty much maneuver around wherever the creeps are going to be.
Yeah. I was just going to comment on the mid matchup a little bit more.
Sure.
Incidental damage is actually not that fantastic against Darkseer, just because he is a strength hero, he has decent health regen, and he usually builds stuff like, once he starts building towards his mechanism, he heals up most of your incidental harass damage. So it's like you either have to kill him or just like, meh.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, so a lot of frustration coming on through for No Tail at the moment. Now you're able to directly contest him, and Darkseer with the bottle at about the same time as No Tail means, yeah, that Darkseer is going to find level 5, and it's going to get way worse as soon as that comes into play.
Right. So in the top, Era is doing quite well in this lane, I have to say. He's 14 last time.
Actually, down on bottom, Trixie's in a rough spot right here. He does have another Shockwave available, so I don't think Korok wants to go in to hit him directly, but they have put each other in a weird little position where neither one wants to be risking a kill down in that lane.
Cool build from Korok, the 2 in homing missiles, none in flat cannon. So this is a fighting gyrocopter. maybe even a Whiting gyrocopter, since it's Team Liquid we're talking about here. He is just going for that sort of massive damage in the team fights, and not so much the AoE just yet, although as he farms up, he'll start leveling this flak cannon. This is great in lane, actually, just because homing missile is amazing against Magnus. Like, he can't do much about it, he just has to eat it.
Yeah, exactly, and if, right now he's about to hit 140 mana, and that could be a possibility. I'm not sure. Right now, 160 HP. Looking at Korok's rank 3 homing missile, yeah, that does a shit ton of damage, and Trixie just has to walk away as soon as he's about to hit homing missile mana, so that's going to be a long walk all the way back home, and Magnus missing out on some very, very precious experience during that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to win the lane, and you would see a lot of players sort of just go the flak cannon anyway, and it's not the correct build for this. It's actually smart to go the homing missile, so well played to Korok. Fnatic, they're doing a decent job of managing the lane, I have to say, considering how aggressive a position Liquid have taken. The fact they've only have 1 kill so far is to Fnatic's credit, but you can still see they're just putting so much pressure here, so much aggressiveness, and actually in the middle too, Bulba just doesn't even care, diving past the tower just to harass No Tail more.
Yeah, I mean, he feels rather comfortable in this spot, and No Tail really can't directly contest him unless the tower is actually lending in some extra help there. So in that position, the Refraction, only a damage buff, not going to be providing much defensive properties, and from there, yeah, it just takes, like, literally a second. It ticks so darn quickly that, like, it dispenses of the entire Refraction within a second, second and a half. Matchup on top lane, as you mentioned, Fnatic's, their positioning has been really good. The supports are sitting around, they're leeching a lot of experience, but it's because if they are anywhere too far off the tower, they are going to get picked off. The open wounds is the go word for Team Liquid, and they can start doing amazing work as soon as they get in range from that when they're not underneath tower.
The go word, you say? Yes, interesting. They're in on Era already.
Yeah, going on in.
He might make it.
He actually gets the cogs onto 2, or the concoction onto 2, and TC and Fluff take a lot of damage there, but they have a lot of restoratives. They haven't really had to use anything yet, so Fluff is going to be wasting his last little bit to bring himself up to full, but expending that, not a big deal when TC's already up and kicking. And looking for more here now. They're going to waste out the Ice Path and maybe go in for the next pull. Either way, they got the creep aggro, and that's kind of the maneuver they're looking for here.
Right. No Tail, has to be said, doing quite well in the mid this time, in my opinion. Even though Bulba's getting plenty of last hits, No Tail is holding his own. He hasn't, like, he's staying far back enough. He has the 2 rank and side blades just to get that little bit of extra range to avoid some of the damage from Ion Shell. So he's actually, I think he's doing quite well. He's going to build towards, I guess, I don't know if he's going to go Blink before Tier 2 boots. We see that sometimes. Usually I would say you want to get those phases up as soon as possible. But he might rush Blink just to sort of move around, because they do want to sort of get an advantage in this top lane. So far this aggressive try has been fairly effective, actually slightly out-leveling Fnatic. You just have that 1 level back on Fly relative to the tri lane coming out from Liquid.
Yeah, so in that sense, I think the Liquid, although generally you want your aggressive tri lane to find kills, they're happy to just limit the farm that will be coming out from Era on the Alchemist. He's only sitting at 24 CS, doesn't even feel comfortable to put more than 1 point on Grievel's Greed, and from that position, there's really not much to say about it. Now Bulba gets his opportunity on the mid lane to push out and freely just try to bring down some damage on the Tier 1, because No Tail tried to make something happen in the bottom lane, but because he has the 1 rune that doesn't help him do anything as far as the gank goes, he's not going to be able to accomplish anything. It's just...
Right. And, I mean, Korok has just been pretty much dominating this lane. Not that Trixie has much choice. I mean, every time...
Holding cogs up on the top lane, charging up that concoction. There is a Nightmare out on Fluff, but he's taking so much damage from that battery assault, and he will fall first. TC in a pretty rough spot, has that magic stick, pops it off, but trapped inside so many trees. He is going to get dropped down in the end. Fluff and stuff coming on 3. He has those cogs. Will just force away the Bane, though. And from there, they don't really have much opportunity to go for another kill.
Could have been worse. They could have lost Era and not gotten TC. So that's okay. Really good ice paths, by the way, all game from Fly. He's really been on point with these ice paths. Like, he's gotten some very, very clever angles. He knows where to lane with Jakiro to sort of do it across the northwest, or one time he did it like this. Through the trees, good positioning, and right now it's just not quite enough because their tri-lane just isn't quite up to par in terms of actually sustaining here. Especially, I mean, Bane's just having a tough time.
Yeah, they have good disables, but no damage. I mean, right now, Jakiro's Ice Path does a very, very inconsiderable amount. I mean, 50 damage. It's really not going to... Even if you hit all 3, they're not that afraid. Yeah, he keeps on going down, but it's an illusion rune this time. It's like he doesn't have those windows of opportunity. Korok himself is pretty quick with the treads compared to, what is that, no boots on TA or just brown boots? He does have brown boots, but it's just pretty weak. So in this position here, he's not accomplishing much, and Bulba just keeps on kind of doing his thing. Has arcane boots. The Iron Chills will just be like never ending at this stage. No Tail looking, taking so many hits, getting blocked up. There's gonna be the vacuum. He didn't vacuum down the cliff, which might have put him in a position to do a little bit more damage, but still in a great spot to just go back and forth. Yeah, true. So either way, No Tail just taking so much damage. He wants to stand and deliver, but look how much he takes, and Bulba will just be able to bottle that right back up. No Tail, oh my gosh, shredded again, down below 100 HP, and that's very, very painful for him.
The issue for Fnatic here is they're holding their own, and I actually think their execution has been strong, but they're kind of losing every lane at this point. Era has been muscled out as the levels have sort of advanced for TC and co. So he's now at 31 last hits to TC's 52. You can't say that they're winning mid. They're not really losing it, but they're not winning either. Trixie. Oh, crap. Oh, they might lose No Tail, though.
Yeah, yes, Bulba comes on in. The RP is canceled. He finally drops it down underneath the tower. Bulba has no surge available, gets trapped up, but dishing out some damage to Trixie. Trixie doesn't even want to go on this. Like, there's so much damage from this Ion Chill, and Bulba goes deep. Is he going to do this damage right here? He can't cancel the bottle, so he's just right-clicking down instead. Trixie burns him down. That was so damn greedy of Bulba right there. He had just an easy card. He's like, oh, you wasted reverse polarity. I can walk away from this and you just lose 100%, losing the TA, losing the cooldown. Instead, he goes for more and he ends up just feeding away.
That was...
that was, yeah.
I believe the appropriate Blazian idiom for that is cheeky. It was a cheeky play from Bulba.
That's not even cheeky. That's just damn greedy. That really is. Like, he just wanted to go. He wanted it so damn bad, but yeah, you just can't commit to something like that.
He got No Tail, so
yeah.
Good job of Trixie.
But he got No Tail without that being a factor.
Right, and actually, No Tail finally finds the Invis Rune, so he's going to try to make something happen top, as Bulba comes in as well. So.
Oh, Courier. He could just type the Courier right here, actually. Going on through, he sees Cluckles. Now, it goes right over the cliff perfectly. Now the Concoction charging up. Will he gets no target. Oh, Courier came back on in, but yeah, Concoction not going to work out. They tried to bait her under the sentry. Oh, that would have been so big. They have a sentry ward down in the middle of that jungle. They knew she was Invis. They put Cluckles right back in the heart of things, trying to say, come get me, I'm a little cute chicken. But
then why'd they send it south again? They should have just kept going north. The bait worked. No Tail was going in on it.
I don't know. The timing was weird.
I wonder if it was one person sent Cluckles one way.
Yeah, debate between the team. Bane's going to drop really, really quickly. Nice vacuum coming on in, but Era will drop this big concoction on top of Bulba. Interesting cogs coming on through. Trixie taking a lot of damage from it. Infest brings Lifestealer right back on up, but that with this wall of replica, Fnatic are in a pretty rough spot. They already popped the buyback on Bane, but huge mistake from him. Buying back without a TP scroll. He's just like walking, like crawling back to lane, and he's not going to be able to make it as direct of an impact, especially since his death time was so darn short already. I think a TP scroll would have been faster, honestly.
And he's, I don't know, that might have been it did ward Liquid off, like they've moved off, so just the psychological effect might have been okay, but now since Trixie's spending so much time
charging, going on in, TC going to be able to bring down Fly in time, though, I believe. Same thing happened on the back end, though. Ike's Mike bursted down before his concoction could fly, and out. TC and Fluff now in a rough spot, and with a beautiful RP and the Melt Strike going out, it might be 2 more kills. Nice cogs coming on through. They do have a TP onto Fluff and stuff. He will get an concoction at the last second. Era gets it off cooldown, but a Rage TP will, at the very least, keep TC up. No mana for Bane's Fiend's Grip.
Wow. So, pretty decent turnaround, strong RP from Trixie. They're spending a lot of time here, and it leaves Korok open, and it lets this greedy lineup really, like, get into gear with, okay, you win one, you sort of turn one lane, we're just going to get even more farm in the other lane. But still, I mean, not to take anything away from Fnatic, that was a well-put-together fight in the end, and I think it got Bane his 6. Yeah, it actually gets him most of the way through 6. So that's Fiend's Grip, and that's a good sort of, again, they get the monkey off their back. You can see Era, the least greedy Alchemist build of ever, just because this lane has been so difficult. Still only the 1 rank of Grievel's Greed, maxed Unstable Concoction.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you're talking about, though. Era still has the monkey on his back, so that's going to probably stay for the rest of the game.
Haha, yes, good point.
Either way, so yeah, he's farming up okay in this position here. He's sitting at 44 CS, but when you look at net worth, it's telling that, comparatively speaking, Liquid is just completely stomping all over them, especially Korok down on that bot lane, taking the tier 1, farming up 78 CS in only these 13 minutes, and now he went for that dominator rush we kind of saw a little bit of earlier last game. So at this stage, he has this pack leader's aura from the Alpha Wolf hanging on out. I'm not sure why he's not right-clicking with the Wolf, but nevertheless, he can kind of go for a little bit of jungle gyro and find some extra GPM, just picking it up wherever he wants. And when you have a gyrocopter out-golding a Alchemist that's the number 1, then honestly, Fnatic is having problems.
Right, and the Alpha Wolf is great. I mean, it gives you that critical strike passive and the damage aura. He's just going to use it to stack now, and then he's going to come back and just clear these camps out very, very, very easily. So they are smoked up, Fnatic. I think they realize they have to make a little more happen on this map. Especially with Jakiro. Jakiro trying to lane against Lifestealer is a pain in the butt. I mean, even in that last fight where they did pretty well, oh, Bulba, he gets away, he surges in time. Yeah. And that's smoke wasted there.
Yeah,
I was going to say, laning with Jakiro. Oh, uh-oh,
what's
Era,
that? Top lane? Okay, Era is cogged on in. They get a steal even. They're just going to burst him down in this short time period. And with the Telekinesis, he can't even concoction. So Lifestealer walks right on out of the Ice Path. And here comes that Fiend's Grip. Are they going to have the damage follow-up? Trixie coming in. The Shockwave, the Skewer, it is going to be able to bring him down. Cluckles again on the battlefield, on the warfront. But Fluff will be able to get a beautiful cogs here. And I think this might be enough to get away. The Nightmare changes that thought process, though. He is slowed on down. Ix Mike, Chemical Rage done up. He's just trying to show off his cool purple smoke. But either way, in this position, they lose out the Lifestealer, but they trade it once again for Era. So a lot of deaths on these carries, but the good thing for Liquid is that they always have that backup. They always have the Gyrocopter, which is honestly more of a carry than TC is whatsoever.
And the other thing is, Era always dies first, and TC dies
experience.
second. And the upshot of that is he's about half a level ahead, and I think a little bit of farm ahead. Yeah, he is. I mean, all three core heroes of Liquid, about 350 gold per minute, just that little bit ahead of the heroes of Fnatic, including Era, who Era's really behind relative to where you want to be with Alchemist. Shadowblade will be good. I like the Shadowblade on Alk this game more than I liked the Shadowblade on his Gyrocopter last game, but still a thing where Liquid are seeking to just exert more and more control, and I think this tower will go down sooner or later. Maybe one more push will do it.
Yeah, they're going to be able to bring it down pretty swiftly here. On the same note, there is going to be no tail down at bottom. He has his Blink Dagger finished before tier 2. Korok missing up his cooldown, not getting hit by the concoction. It's not going to make much of a difference, but still, I mean, wasting up that cooldown, he's going to have to wait it out, and more importantly, the mana, I think, is a bigger deal. He has that bottle. So, in 35 seconds, he won't really care, but looking for an opportunity that just wasn't there, and that gives No Tail a small timing window to trade tier 1 for tier 1. Takes the bottom while Liquid snipes up the top, committing 4 heroes to that engagement.
It's good that No Tail managed to get that tower trade. It's a little bit more farm for him. You've seen a pretty quiet game from his Templar Assassin, and he did go the Blink before tier 2 boots.
Not without trying. I mean, he's been roaming to bottom like 3 different times, but the runes just do not allow it, and we do see a quick disconnect. Right when the Fiend's Grip comes out, super trap pause. Obviously, the Fnatic DDoS themselves so that they could...
It's actually a trap for us, because we have to listen to the sound effect.
I don't got it. I'm in the clear, so are the viewers on the stream, so have fun with that, with your little Bane's Fiend's Gripy thing. But anyways, yeah, no, Templar Assassin disconnects on out. Where is she at this moment? She is down there with the TP scroll. She can come into this tier 1. She has the Blink Dagger, a lot of damage potential. In the meantime, we do see Infested inside Fluff. He has the hook shot, he has the range and the vector, and he could easily pounce on anybody here. I'm not sure how long it'll take for him to get in range to actually hit Bane. He might have to take about 3 seconds worth of steps, and by then it might be too late. But either way, I don't feel Korok is that pressured right now, unless the TA... Oh wait, I just saw the Alchemist charging up that concoction, and yeah, with the concoction coming on through, that will be able to take off half his HP once it does its maximum damage, and I think they will be able to deliver a lot of right clicks. The question is the follow-up, the turnaround. With the Darkseer, Bulba does have that wall, and I think he's willing to use it here, so this will be pretty interesting, but we do have some time to wait. So breaking down the analysis a little bit more into the bigger picture until we actually get him connected back on in. Armlet up on the Nakes. It won't be a factor here because it's still in the stash, but TC does have that available. A lot more damage, a lot more potential to go 1v1 or just right-click and survive in the middle of a big team fight. In that position there, they have big items already. Gyrocopter has the Dominator and is using that for, well, is generally using that for his Wolf, Alpha Wolf, which he can use to stack, he can use to give a team fight aura, either way, and that allows him to accelerate his farm. He's sitting at 1385. What item do you think he's going to be going for shortly?
Talking about Gyrocopter? Why not? Why not BKB again? I think it's good. Jakiro, Magnus, the Magnus damage, even Unstable Concoction makes BKB, I think, a strong option. And if he's farming quickly, it sort of keeps him very, very safe as well. He does have the option of going Shadowblade again also, but it gives them a little bit more initiation, but I don't think it's commensurate with the amount of, just the amount of damage the Fnatic put out and the sort of greed that Liquid are going with their lineup. I'm still kind of not even totally clear on what happens in this fight, by the way, because this 3-man rotation from Liquid seems very strong to me, not to mention they have Mechanism.
The biggest problem...
Depending on how Sorry, go ahead.
The biggest problem is Trixie's mana. Like, you look at that, and he's not... It's a 4v5. Like, they cannot bring in the Magnus with reverse polarity.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you, Blaze. That's why I'm thinking, I feel like Liquid have a pretty good shot. No-Tail's gonna come in. He's got the Blink. He's doing well on levels. He's level 11, so he's tied for the highest. But yeah, no Magnus, and the mechanism advantage present for Liquid. I feel like it kind of depends just how fast Korok dies. If they actually mechanism him, I don't see Liquid losing the fight.
Yeah.
Like, if they get there. It's a long distance, though. They're going to be like... We're going to see some Summer Olympics level sprinting from here on the high ground down to here for Korok. Because if they get that heal in time, it's going to be huge. And if they don't, I think Fnatic could take it.
Yeah. I mean, it is about timing, but I just feel the Surge... is it cast out? Yeah, it's on Rubik right now. I think that they're going to be able to get in a position where they can make this more relevant. They will probably lose a casualty or two, but I just in general think that the Fnatic counter initiation with Magnus is going to be a dollar. What is it?
A day idiom. Late and a dollar short.
There you go. Help me out with the idioms there.
Happy to help.
Awesome, but yeah, no, in this position, they are going to get a kill, I think, probably on Korok because he's the focus right now, but I don't think they're going to get out with most of their individuals alive. Is there any chance they could just back out from this position here? I mean, they're already dropping the Fiend's Grip. The homing missile wouldn't be a factor, but a surged in Rubik, I think, could stop a TP. So if Bane just shifted to his TP scroll right now, he'd probably be pretty screwed. I don't know. One thing I want to comment on real quick is...
I think Fnatic are pretty committed. TL have the option of not fighting, but after Bulba earlier, I don't think they're gonna... I think they're
Man mode.
Fight.
Or robot mode.
Man mode, man.
Robot mode with the clock. I don't even know. He's a goblin.
Well, no, he's not on clock, man. He's on Darkseer. It's like...
Oh, shoot. Man, I'm doing the same thing. It's always... Korok always plays Puck, and Bulba always plays the Clockwork until, you know, they switch it up.
The roundness of Clockwork's head offends Darkseer, so you've insulted him quite a bit here.
Yeah, that's true. That's honestly true. I mean, you know, you could go for a different model, 2.0, with the spiky head, and make it work out for everybody. Just a little bit of a compromise on designs.
That's true. That's true. Darkseer is supposed to, like, his lore is he's a super genius, right? Like, he's some sort of, like, hyper-military strategist from another dimension. So he could definitely file a patent for, like, a pointy-headed Clockwork that they could launch.
No other high-tech changes. Literally just change the shape of the head, and he's set.
Darkseer is like a troll for the U.S. patent system, just submitting thousands of patents for just something replaced with a pointy head, and the USPTO is like, God damn it, Darkseer, stop sending us patents.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I want to see it now. One thing I do want to comment out while we're still trying to analyze this extended pause period before the Merlini police come on in anyways, is that Korok's skill build is very dedicated to winning a lane. He went max barrage, max homing missile. He hasn't really dropped that much in flak cannon until just recently. I noticed that a little bit earlier, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be that big of an impact. He probably would find his next 3 levels relatively early. But in this position, obviously, he's in a spot where he's going to come into this team fight. He will have a flat cannon, but it's going to be 3 shots. Called down will be in 10 seconds because of wasting it on the mid lane earlier. And from there, his presence in the fight is going to be a little bit limited. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
The more I think about it, though, the more I think TL can take this fight. Just because... Fluff, do they see Bane? Yeah, they see Bane. So
yeah.
Korok sees him, the creeps see him.
Unless the melee creeps are blind.
If Fluff down right now, and then puts down Cogs immediately, Fly has difficulty actually maneuvering over to Korok. The stun will still come out from Era, but he's going to be essentially isolated. Then the Darkseer and Rubik, the Rubik is surged, by the way, come down, and that probably kills Fly, quite possibly kills Jocko, as No-Tail is trying to TP in. So No-Tail TP's in west of the tower, almost certainly, because the Cogs are going to be here, so you can't TP anywhere else. They probably get Korok, but they lose at least 2, possibly 3, and Trixie isn't able to reinforce, period, until probably the fight is already over. Yeah. So, I don't know. The more I think about it, the bleaker this fight looks for Fnatic. So what do they need to do to prevent that happening, I guess is the question.
Jakiro has a great potential for screwing things over for Liquid. If you look at Fly's positioning, and of course you think about the presence Jakiro could have if his spells are on point, an Ice Path Macro Pyre right where Liquid is coming from could be insane. I'm not going to say they're stream sniping, so maybe they probably still don't know about the smoke coming up from the north, but they know about the potential of it. And as such, if Fly can drop it appropriately and drop down this big macro player, this big ice path, and dual breath to follow it up, and then hide inside the trees, they will give themselves enough time for the Bane's Fiend's Grip and the Unstable Concoction to do its damage to Korok, and buy a few more precious seconds for Trixie to actually be able to get on in this. He will bottle as soon as he hits the fountain to increase his HP and mana to the point where he can actually comfortably TP on in. Their main goal for Fnatic is getting Trixie in the fight before everybody else is dead, before where you can still make an impact and get people to follow up on your damage. If that's the case, they still have a chance. Without it, not so ever. And apparently he lost his power, so... Woo!
Oh, wow, bleak.
Know any good knock-knock jokes?
No, I still have more to say about this game.
Sure.
I don't believe in knock-knock jokes. I aspire to a higher standard.
Do you, like, live in a neighborhood without doors or something?
Well, the other day, so when you had the DDoS the other day, LD asked me to cast, I don't remember what it was, Dignitas, I think, and it turned out to be a replay cast.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a replay cast, so I'm like, uh-oh, they're asking me to cast G1, so I went over to the bookshelf and like put like a pile of like 3 to 4 books on the desk, and then it turned out to be a replay, so all my efforts were wasted there.
Sure enough.
I want to talk about the fight. You asked earlier if Fnatic can just peel off, and I think they have some ability to disengage. They can get out of this just losing Jocko and possibly Fly. If Era just throws the concoction early and runs. Actually, he doesn't have TP, so...
Oh, he doesn't have to... Get the TP from the Bane.
Just get the TP from the Bane. No, that's not going to happen. There's no way that happens. Actually,
they have had 10 minutes to plan this. They better fucking be able to do something like that.
Well, the thing is, they have 10 minutes to plan, but they can't move their camera, and they don't know the exact position of Liquid Smoked. So Fnatic are at... You talk about information asymmetry sometimes. The information asymmetry massively favors Liquid. They know that Lifestealer is sitting inside of that TC is sitting inside of Fluff, and that Fluff is in initiation range. They know where Fluff has to aim. He's got Ion Shell, Mike Bulba there. Whereas Fnatic are suffering from, they don't know if Liquid are going to come in or if this is a solo gank on Korok. Probably the more this lasts, the more paranoid they're going to be about that possibility. But, I don't know, I feel like Era, he's in an incredibly delicate position. He might actually, if he knew, so with perfect information, the right decision here, unintuitive though it might be, is to run straight southeast.
Yeah.
And just take the stun on yourself, and hopefully you just escape.
Yeah.
Because once cogs come down, TC can't actually chase off Era.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, yes, you get stunned for quite some time. It is a max concoction, but he also has Chemical Rage up, and they don't have as much understanding of your position. They know in general where you are, but they're not going to chase you through past Roche. They're going to look at the the 2 juicy heroes. Even if they're supports, they're still very well in their field of vision and ready to rumble with them. So they know... honestly, I think even despite the pause thing, that they probably, by this point in time, know something enough about where everybody is. The creeps, of course, have vision right on there, and that allows them to at least see on the minimap who is who. And, of course, you know, there could be some elaborate piecing together, screenshotting their frozen cameras, and then piecing it together as a big map. I don't know. I don't know what a professional could do to hack their way through this, but, you know, you got plenty of time.
I honestly think they should sort of just disengage. No-Tail shouldn't TP in. This is the other thing. They've been planning, but they have No-Tail's not part of this planning process. He's part of the trying to get his power back process, right?
Sure.
Like, honestly, I don't even know. What's the protocol if he can't get back in?
No, I'd have to check with the main admin specifically, because I do not know exactly. We talked a little bit about it when the DDoS came on through, and of course there has to be a certain limit period. But we're probably, first attempt will be try to reload on in with a stand-in in place, and then if that's not working or whatever, then we have to figure out something else.
That would be rough. 2 stand-ins for Fnatic. I don't envy the challenge they have to try to win this game otherwise. They're actually, right now, they're actually not that behind, I would say. if you look at the golden XP graph.
It'll flatline,
Right. So, they're basically not that far behind either on XP or gold. They'll fall a little farther behind in this fight because at the very least they lose 2 heroes and the tower. But it's not over for them. I think their priorities keep Era protected. He's still level 8. He's actually matching TC. This is that interesting game where because the try versus try lasted so long, because it was that 3 versus 3 situation for like a very, very long period of time, the carries are vastly behind in terms of XP relative to the mids and the solos. So Trixie, No-Tail, Bulba, Korok are all up at level 11. They've got their tier 2 ultimates. And then Era and TC are actually down substantially below that. Now Era, he's still behind though. I mean, you mentioned that TC has Armlet. it's not going to come for this fight, but it'll come for next
Yeah.
fight. That puts him substantially ahead of where Era is with no Shadow Blade.
Mm-hmm.
They can't afford for Era to die anymore. He's got 508 unreliable gold. If he dies in this fight, he loses a lot of that. Like, he's put way far away from his Shadow Blade, which is, again, speaks to the fact that I think they have to protect Era with all of their effort in this fight. Whether that means completely disengaging as much as they can or not, they kind of have to do that. Otherwise, they fall substantially behind. And Liquid, what we've seen from them today is that renewed killer instinct that they weren't bringing yesterday. It's the ability to get ahead and then just dominate from there. And that's with Na'Vi. Na'Vi, like, always, it's so frequent that Na'Vi get like a first blood before the bell, and yet both times Liquid just charged in and immediately went for it and then never let it go. And that's what they're going to seek to do this game: get enough ahead that Fnatic simply have no responses and just dominate them. Jakiro will struggle more and more, considering he's got 116 gold, brown boots, against Lifestealer. Lifestealer is so excellent against Jakiro, because the Jakiro's base movement speed is awful. TC has phase boots, he has open wounds, and he can rage through every spell that Jakiro has. Jakiro does nothing to somebody who's magic immune. So Fly has to sort of keep away as much from Lifestealer as possible in these fights. So far, something that he hasn't really been able to do. He's had good magic placement, like he's put his spells in the right place, but every time TC goes on him, he just sort of, he has to run away, or he dies, or the fight sort of ensues. So I don't know, I feel like Fnatic, even with TA, who's typically like go out and kill people, they have to try to be as defensive as possible until Era's like huge, and that includes this coming fight.
Yeah. So,
how you doing? You trying to figure out what the protocol is?
Yeah, exactly.
How long do we wait before we have to sort of go to plan B?
Yeah, that's question number one, and then question number two is, of course, what plan B specifically is. We have some ideas, but we want to make sure everybody's on the same page before we proceed. In this position here, it's very difficult, but wouldn't it suck if, like, all this strategy, all these tactics for this team fight that will never happen, and we'll just never know?
Yeah, so we can say, yeah, that would be pretty sad. I think the most likely outcome is that the game is resumed some way or another, right?
Yeah, but it would be within the past minute or 2 minutes or something like that, and of course that would nullify this exact thing from ever happening.
Right. We want to talk about VP versus Alliance later today?
Well, that'll be obviously a very, very interesting matchup. Honestly, we were talking to Illidan on the interview yesterday, and that he seemed extremely confident. He thinks that Alliance is like his favorite enemy because they're so dynamic and they bring something really unique to the table. But Alliance, along with that, of course, they have been invited to the International 3. They got to feel pumped about that. And along with that, they've just been playing so darn strong. Even in matches, they seemed like they were just down and out. They found opportunities to come back, and I'm kind of referencing their match versus Fnatic yesterday a little bit. Really, really solid players, of course, and they've been just kind of dominating the European scene. So, what are your thoughts on it all?
I don't know. I'm very excited about the draft because it's going to be different drafting strategies employed. I'm glad you brought up the Illidan interview, because he's like, I don't think he's their primary drafter, but he's obviously like part of their strategy for figuring out how they draft. And he said, like, we are going to bring secret strategies, and we want to bring some interesting Dota. And that'll be interesting to see. We know what their goals are. So they construe Alliance, and I think this was an interesting comment, as primarily a 4-Protect-1 team. And they just say, we can sort of break that up. We can play aggressive and take them out of their comfort zone by catching that one and ensuring that it's basically 4-Protect-Nothing. So I think we could see what they did yesterday, which is the high damage roaming support. And then the question becomes, can Alliance sort of withstand the pressure that VP are going to put out? Loda, meanwhile, in his interview with you yesterday, had a very different drafting strategy. He's like, we really just change our bans. We don't necessarily like have pocket lineups that we deploy against particular teams. We focus on our own playstyle. We just modify the ban phase to try to take out the favorite heroes of that team. Now, that's something that VP actually used to their advantage yesterday. They sort of knew that Liquid was sort of researched what they usually did, and in the game 1 of VP versus Liquid yesterday, they knew that Liquid was going to think that Gyrocopter was definitely Airman's like solid #1 hero, and they exploited that to draft a very greedy but interesting lineup that was also extremely aggressive. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in that game, is how will VP sort of, what secret strat will VP deploy? Almost certainly a highly aggressive approach, and how are No Tide on Alliance going to respond to that? And I don't know. That's a very, very interesting matchup. definitely at least the equal of this matchup, and I'll be very sad if we don't actually continue this, because I said I think Fnatic have a shot. Not in this team fight. This team fight is going to be a loss, and the question is it a small loss? Do they just lose Jocko and Fly, or do they lose Jocko, Fly, Era, No Tail, and then Trixie comes in 1v5? But I think they still have a shot in the game. They still have a chance to equalize. Definitely at a disadvantage, but it would suck to see Fnatic out. I mean, they're such excellent competitors. They are still in the G1 League. I think they're in the winner's bracket going up against Alliance tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, I think they're going up against Alliance tomorrow, and that'll be an interesting game, definitely. And it sucks to see them have such a tough time so far in their game against Alliance yesterday, in Game 1 against Liquid today, but they're an excellent team. When they have the teamfight coordination and when they're sort of operating as one sort of mind, one unit, I really feel like they look sometimes like the best team, at least in the sort of the European scene. But they haven't really looked like that in these last couple days. How you doing? Do we know what's going on?
Yeah, we're going to be looking to reload the game in just a minute or two here, so that's pretty much what we're just making sure. I'm trying to remember, stand-ins can load into a safe state game and take the place of somebody, or can't they? That's the big question that we're just trying to make sure. I think they can, but I don't want to do it and then just be like, oh, well, now you have to 4v5. It doesn't make sense. So
I don't actually know if you can load stand-ins into a save game. Want me to go ask? I'll go ask. Why don't you talk and I'll go find out.
Okay, so you got a couple of Valve guys on your end, and that'll be cool to get some info from them just to make sure. And it looks like a stand-in needs to log into No Tail's account specifically, and then they can. But obviously there's different things that Valve has security for in Steam to logging on, and that gets more and more complicated because having to access the email for the code, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that could get really, really dicey. So right now, just double-checking. Yeah, No Tail is still offline for the past 19. Black's like, give me No Tail's account. Stand-in mouse plays the TA, wins the game. But no, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, okay. So I have confirmation. It needs to be the same Steam ID, so it would have to be somebody on No Tail's account. Don't try this at home, kids. Do not share Steam accounts, but we may have to have some Steam account sharing to make this game happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, folks. We are going to try to get up into the game if we can, but it's going to be tricky because it would have to be somebody on the same Steam account, which, again, you should not share. Don't do this. It's against the Steam terms of service, but I think maybe they'll offer us an exception to actually make this happen.
Most definitely. So, from this position here, as far as let's just talk about how the difference of gold and experience and the late game potential is really affecting whether or not this would turn into a definite win for somebody or that. Yeah. So in this position here, they're looking at if it doesn't work out and they can't figure out somebody to stand in for him and take over his account with all the switcheroo that has to go on, then of course they will be looking just to forfeit outright because they are behind by one game.
There's comments from Trixie that No Tail may or may not have actually caused his own IRL demise in the process of trying to come back into this game. That they had to tell him how to change the fuse in his power adapter.
Wow.
If he doesn't come back, he has probably managed to kill himself.
Awesome, awesome. But yeah, in this position here, as far as gold and experience advantage, we already mentioned it's closing in 3,800 gold compared to like 2,600 experience. It's both in favor of Team Liquid. As far as late game potential, you're comparing right now the carried heroes of Gyrocopter and Lifestealer, both with a net worth advantage right now, running 384 GPM on the Gyro, 367 on TC's Nakes. And they have some core items up already. Gyro will be able to pick up something pretty big in a little bit. The Lifestealer has his armlet already underway. Comparing that to the others, we see a Blink Dagger up on TA, and Phase Boots can be available at any time based on her gold. So if No Tail was able to play, comparing that directly, can dish out a lot of damage really, really quickly. It's strong against the Lifestealer because Meld, of course, reducing armor, you only can do physical damage to him, and that's going to be what you need to do to bring him down. And I think those two combined together would be solid, but with Alchemist only level 8, only with a GPM of 309, honestly, it's not fitting the role of the hero. If you draft him up, you intend to have a major gold advantage, and by being down over 4,000 gold, it kind of shows that Liquid have not only had control of this game, but are going to be looking at taking it 100%, just winning outright, because they have the mech advantage in the team fight. They have the carry advantage in the late game. It's just right now, it looks like Fnatic are definitely on the back end of it. So the fact, in conjunction with the fact that it's their individual player that's out, it would seem that if they cannot remake, they're, instead of postponing, I think more logically Fnatic would just be taking the forfeit here, and that's what their manager has been saying is already understandable. So we're just kind of trying to compare. What do you think that's Liquid is already at a significant enough advantage? I mean, obviously you can't call the game. You can never call the game at 16 minutes, but at this position here, it's a tough call, but obviously you have to make a decision.
You mean if they did a complete remake from the beginning?
I'm saying if you feel a forfeit or a remake would be more fair in this situation.
A remake with a stand-in or a remake with no tail? Remake with a stand-in?
Stand-in, presumably, because if no tail was here, that would solve all problems.
I mean, it's not my call. I feel like this is either there's. I don't actually know the tournament rules, so whatever they say, I think is first priority. If there's nothing governing this, I think it's sort of up to Liquid. On the one hand, when you're playing a team that has now 3 full-time players and 2 stand-ins, that almost is an even bigger advantage than the one that Liquid have here. I think that Liquid do have a substantial advantage, but I think that against 3+2, they have also a very substantial advantage. I mean, and that's not taking away anything from Fnatic. Any team is going to really struggle if they have to play with 2 stand-ins. I mean, look at Empire in the latter half of this season. They started out well, and then they had to sort of change up that roster and play with 2 stand-ins. Even if the stand-ins are performing at max capacity, that like the secret sauce isn't there, right? Like, you don't have that magic connection between all 5 players where just sometimes it's like, oh my god, they're playing with one mind. Like, that's just not going to happen. Yeah,
exactly. So in this position here, is actually kind of a moot point, the question I was asking. Obviously, it's not easy call to make in any capacity. But in this position here, Fnatic, they're looking at, if they can't get no tail back on in, then they're not going to run with 2 stand-ins. They just, in this kind of position here, would rather call the forfeit, which is unfortunate. But right now, 2015 is what they're looking at. So that would be, what, 8 minutes from now? That's, I mean, it's understandable to wait that. He's been offline, according to my Steam, for 24 minutes. So around that half-hour mark is pretty much what we have to make that call for. So yeah, 30-minute DC time, it makes sense to move on, and Fnatic, they made their own call in the sense that they're not going to go for a remake, they're just going to go for a forfeit here. So we'll just wait it out. We've got approximately 7 minutes or so until we give the win to Team Liquid outright, or we get some awesome Dota to finish this off. Obviously, we'd prefer just to watch the match, but we also have to make the administrative calls as best we can and as fairly as we can.
So it's what, like 7 minutes, and then Fnatic actually will choose to forfeit rather than going with stand. Okay, I'm not gonna last 7 minutes, so I'll be right back then.
Sure enough.
I gotta use the bathroom.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not as far
good
as
luck, Blaze.
Yeah, we've already talked about so much about these matchups, about these heroes, and the fact that it could all be completely irrelevant makes it difficult to actually commit to talking about anything here. But I guess going on, we talked about the rest of the playoffs. If Liquid move on forward, they're going to be still in the losers bracket, but pretty much they're going to fight whoever goes up against between the Alliance and Virtus.pro, as per who their stand-ins are. And so, sorry, I'm not even thinking straight right now. But anyways, between Alliance and Virtus.pro, whoever loses that match there, which will be coming up just after the fact. It's scheduled for an hour from now, but I don't know if there will be a delay. If Fnatic can get no tail back on in and then suddenly turn things around and miraculously bring it to Game 3, there might be some delay in the Alliance versus Virtus.pro match. But anyways, whoever loses in Alliance versus Virtus.pro is, of course, dropped down to the losers, and will be fighting it out with, presumably, Team Liquid if the forfeit is required. So Team Liquid versus either Alliance or Virtus.pro. It's kind of, if it's Virtus.pro, it's a rematch, and they have to realize how scary their strategy is, how their weird picks can throw them off their curve. And Team Liquid, we talked about this a lot, but their big thing to work on is their support play, and making sure that their supports are making as much of an impact on the game, if not more, than that of the supports of Virtus.pro. But I hear it on pause, and they're just going 4v5. So, calling it. So, in this position here, we see the team fight breakout, as we're kind of calling it, trying to drop the macro fire, but jumping on in. There is it. Good game, well played. And even, here comes Trixie, he's totally going to make something magic happen. Beautiful reverse polarity! And then, oh my gosh, there's nobody to help him out. He's not even going to get 1 kill. Actually, the Lifestealer did drop down, so he got exactly 1 kill. But,
what happened here?
they unpaused to forfeit, is essentially it.
Oh.
But,
That's really too bad.
you know, we at least got to see the clash to an extent.
That's so unfortunate. I mean, I don't think they have the advantage in this game, but Fnatic are a team that's really good at coming from behind. I mean, they can sort of get comebacks. They have good coordination, and it's really a shame. It's really disappointing to see them come out of the tournament, and not even due to losing, just due to losing electricity. But of course, I mean, acts of God, there's sometimes things are completely out of your control, and that's sort of the case with for Fnatic here. They lose No-Tail through no fault of his own. I mean, I guess it's just a localized power outage, and so that puts Liquid through to the losers finals. Then we're gonna see VP versus Alliance, and I wanted to talk Turkey, Blaze. VP Alliance, put down a prediction right now.
I think that Virtus.pro will throw one curveball, well, plenty of curveballs at them. Alliance might not be able to handle one game, but I think Alliance is going to take it 2-1.
Alliance 2-1. Okay. That was going to be mine, so thanks a lot.
Sure enough. No, I mean, honestly, it's just
2-1.
Alliance is so darn strong. Like, the games you don't think they can take, even if it's a rough draft, it's a rough laning phase, whatever, they bounce back in with great coordinated pickoffs, team fights. They fight. They fight dirty, they fight down, and they will actually be able to bring most teams down. So they are one of the most powerful in European, and for good reason.
Okay, yeah. I was just going to say, VP 2-1, and this is why. Typically, in the course of a tournament, Alliance throw at least one game that they should have won. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
They're 90% of the time, this team is incredibly coordinated. 10% of the time, it's just, oh my god, what are you people doing? I'm not going to name names, but it's been more than one player, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes Alliance will just not put it together, and it just looks terrible. So, if they throw a game, and they haven't thrown one yet this tournament, so they're due for one, and VP win one by strength of sort of a secret strat draft, that's 2 games for VP, and then one in the middle where Alliance wins. Now, the challenge is, if the game that Alliance decide to throw is the same game that VP's secret strat works, then it's Alliance 2-1.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess so. You know,
VP
when they
Liquid,
decide to throw a game, you know, they have to pick carefully about those throw-based decisions.
You have to be really careful which game you consciously decide to throw.
Obviously.
I mean, it's a shame, honestly. I don't have that much more to say. Fnatic, nice of them, by the way, not to try to sort of drag it out. Like, they're just like, you know what? We're already playing with a stand-in. We're not going to, like, try to create a brand new game or anything like that. If we can't play with our full roster that we were planning to, it's okay. Just go on in the tournament. So they're really a class act, Fnatic, in my opinion. So good for them for making that decision.
Yeah.
And then, so our next game, when is it?
It's actually just going to be in about 45 minutes or so here. Just coming on up. We might start it a little bit early just because the teams will be at the ready very shortly. But yeah, we're going to be looking at that match. Of course, as most of them heard, it's Virtus.pro versus Alliance, the best of 3 for the winners bracket there. And yeah, it should be in just about 45 minutes. That's when it's scheduled to be. So we're going to get that started up pretty soon. That, of course, is going to be a very, very powerful match. Virtus.pro have seen some really, really great matches, and they also have kind of shown a little bit of ways to pierce on through the enemy strategy and draft very well against the team, especially since they've been researching hard. They didn't get to go to EMS, so they were studying, and if they took good notes, they know that one great strategy that works in the draft against Alliance is just banning the heck out of Admiral Bulldog's heroes. He doesn't have that wide of a hero base, so if you ban out 2, and then the other 2 or 3 that he likes to play don't really fit into Alliance's lineup, then you really can inhibit what's going to be going for them. And along with that, of course, just putting pressure on Bulldog. We've seen times where other teams have gotten 4 or 5 kills on him really early on, even on his signature Lone Druid, and you can shut him down pretty hard. So those kinds of things come into play and do change things up just a little bit.
Yeah, I think the whole Admiral Bulldog thing is kind of, I don't know. I think he has a wider hero base than most people give him credit for. He's really good on, obviously, Lone Druid. His Clockwork is great, his Nature's Prophet is good, and his Bounty Hunter is great. In my opinion, what more can you ask for from a solo lane guy? Those are the only good solo lane heroes. I'm just kidding. There are plenty of other good solo lane heroes. But he plays a...
Oh, no. Not my Skype.
Good Magnus, too, honestly. His Magnus is perfectly legit. No, I think... We'll have to see. It's going to be an incredible matchup either way. I'm really, really pumped for it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's going to be really, really solid between the two teams. They bring a lot of different things to the table, and I'm honestly looking forward to what both of them will throw on out there. But specifically, yeah, Alliance has a couple tricks up their sleeves. Low to mention that. They have a lot of intentions, but I think both are well prepared, and they're going to give us a pretty awesome show. So, again, that'll be coming up in just 45 minutes, but not sure if it's been updated on the website. Either way, what it is right now is 2-0 Team Liquid taken out Fnatic and eliminating them from the tournament based on an unfortunate necessary forfeit for No Tail's power breaking them down and them not opting for the second stand-in. So in that situation, just having to proceed on through. We'll see Alliance